Hi guys, it's Ethan from the Money Gaming Crew, and today I'm going to be reacting to What is a Kirby by the Game Theory. Without further ado, let's get into it! Alright, here's the video. Time for reaction. Oh, it's Kirby. Oh, he did his thing. Don't try it. Don't try it. Uh-oh. Oh. Oh, God. Oh, fix that. Oh, someone help him. Oh, God. Whoa. This is a cool intro.
Hello, Internet.
Hi.
Welcome to Game Theory,
Let's go.
providing you with your weekly serving of free-range organic brain food since 2011. Now,
Yeah.
in case the title, thumbnail, and opening gag didn't give it away, today we're going to be discussing the playful pink puffball from Planet Popstar, the Warp Star Warrior, the dynamic Dreamlander, Kirby. For anyone that's unfamiliar with this series, and let's face it, if you don't know who Kirby is at this point, then you're going pretty far out of your way to avoid it. The
Yeah.
Kirby franchise started back in 1992 with the initial entry Kirby's Dream Land, and has since launched over 24 games, selling over 35 million
that's a
copies,
lot.
which is more than double Metroid
Oh.
sales and triple Star Fox.
Jeez,
And here's the internet
Kirby.
wondering why Nintendo's so slow to release more Samus games. Why create a sprawling space opera when all you gotta do to sell some games is give a pink blob the superpower of friendship? I mean,
Agreed.
look at that. He's holding an umbrella to stop the water. Oh, it's so cute. Take my
I
money,
need
Nintendo.
this game.
I love Kirby games. I love Kirby
Same,
games. Which
I
may come
love
as a bit of a
Kirby.
surprise considering that this is the first dedicated Kirby theory since the yarn bombing episode, and that one didn't have anything to do with him. If you're new to this channel or missed that one, or just want cringe miss to come early, watch that one. Click the eye icon in the upper right hand corner of the
Nah.
screen. You will be, I don't know, good luck. You will be mildly entertained and confused why people still think the early days of game theory were better. Anyway, the holiday season always makes me think of Kirby. Kirby Superstar was my all-time favorite birthday present growing up. My birthday's in November, so I associate with the holiday season. And two-player epic yarn around Christmas was the way Steph and I celebrated getting engaged when it was too cold outside in New York to do really anything else. So I wanted to take some time today to look at Kirby. And I mean really look at Kirby. Because what the heck is he supposed to be? Sonic is a hedgehog, Crash is a bandicoot, Mario is a homo Nintendo-ness, which is a whole nother episode. But Kirby is a, what, Popstarian? What exactly does that mean?
I always thought of him as like a piece of bubblegum or something, to be honest. Like a piece of bubblegum or, like, I don't know, something. I don't really know what. Anyways, back to the video.
We know that this is a universe with Earth on it, post-apocalyptic frozen over Earth, but Earth nonetheless, so it can't be too far outside the realm of our own biology. So I took to the internet, scouring the pages of the web for information,
that ain't gonna help
clues,
you.
anything that would help me scratch this itch, but to no
Nothing.
avail. No one knows. Even Masahiro Sakurai, the creator of Kirby, claims to not know what his own creation is.
That means he's literally nothing.
Well, all of that ends today.
Wait,
what
what?
exactly is Kirby, you ask?
Nothing.
Well, loyal theorists, brace
Kirby-
yourself for this one, because I think I've solved it.
Kirby is a Kirby. There's not like a specific thing he is. Kirby is a Kirby, bro.
Kirby is a single-celled organism known most commonly as an amoeba. So grab yourself a hyperactive lollipop and
You gotta explain that one, homeboy.
hop aboard your Warp Star, because it's long past time I tackle the science behind this sucker. Kirby's body is a strange one for sure, but it does have consistent behaviors throughout the series. For one, we know his body is elastic. Notice here that the force of
Why?
him hitting the ground causes his body to shift to the side of impact, then bounce back to normal. It's a lot like a water balloon bouncing off the floor when it's dropped. When he runs,
Or a
we clearly
plushie.
see that the force of the wind against his face deforms him a bit too. These details about his movement suggest that Kirby doesn't have a solid internal structural system,
He's
and instead
squishy.
is just a giant ball of fluid. But we
Okay,
don't just
I
have to
didn't
guess
think of
that, we
that
can
one.
actually scientifically prove it with
How?
an X-ray of Kirby. You might call it Kirby's Inside Story.
Okay,
Different
that's...
franchise that was just
Also-
wrong and stupid, Matt. But you may be
How do you get an X-ray? Tell me.
asking me right now, how do you get an X-ray of a fictional character?
Yes.
Easy. The original Smash Brothers. Yeah, of all places.
What?
In this game, and only in this game, when characters are electrocuted by Pikachu, you can see all of their skeletons. Hey, Captain Falcon, looks like you might be missing
Does Kirby have a skeleton is the thing?
a rib or two there. Star Fox, I'm a bit concerned that your tail is literally one giant bone. But across the 12 characters in the game, 3 show themselves as not having a skeleton.
I know which ones. I bet you it's gonna be, well, Jigglypuff. It can't be Kirby, because then why is he pointing it out to this? So it's Jigglypuff for sure, another Pikachu, and Yoshi. Wait, is Yoshi in this game? Yeah, he is. It's another Pikachu, Jigglypuff, and Yoshi.
Can you guess which 3? I'll wait, but not too long, because you literally have a pause button and you can just pause and think about it.
Pikachu, Jigglypuff, another Kirby.
Kirby is obviously one, because we
Wait.
wouldn't be talking about this if he did. Jigglypuff is another fairly obvious example. Well, you can see here for both of them, they clearly have no bones inside of them when compared to their bone-bearing opponents. And the
Yeah.
third character, the one you might not have guessed, fun fact, is actually Samus, who doesn't reveal her skeleton, but rather her real body hidden inside of her
Yoshi
spacesuit.
has a
Cool
skeleton?
details, right? Now let's look at Kirby's hands. Hand arms? Let's just call them nubblies. Kirby's
Okay, nubblies.
Kirby's been shown holding objects like hammers, whips, and swords, but in every single instance he's holding something, he never, ever sprouts fingers from his pink, stretchy,
Kirby with
fleshy
fingers
nubblies.
grosses
Instead,
me.
it's almost like whatever he holds just sticks to him. But Kirby isn't just some sticky ball. He's making a choice to stick his nubblies onto these objects. Otherwise, anything Kirby Mari epic these objects. Otherwise, anything he smacked, bumped, or ran into would stick to him. And I think it would be a very different game at that point. In fact, I know what game it would be at that point. It's a Katamari game. Katamari
I
Kirby.
love
Kirby Mari
Katamari.
epic crossover. No need to pay me for the brilliant game idea, Nintendo. Just send me more of that Super Mario Odyssey cereal. As if I didn't collect enough moons in that game. Moving further up on the Nubble, we see what's happening between his arm and his body. And it's kind of weird. Take a look at Kirby Return to Dreamland. In his running animations, Kirby just slides his hands up above his head, as if his nubblies are just rolling around on the surface of his body. They're not in one fixed position, like how our arms are attached at our shoulders, but rather the nubblies are able to shift where on his body they're springing out on, depending on the way that he's using them.
Okay,
This is
that's pretty
also
cool.
found in Kirby's Mass Attack
Whoa.
and in Triple Deluxe, when he's floating, jumping, using the whip. Oh, and to make things even more interesting, his swimming animation in Return to Dreamland shows his
Whoa.
arms forming on top of his face and then sliding down his sides. All the while, his body maintains the same spherical shape. This would be like having your arms sprout out of your forehead so you could reach the last Diet Coke on the top shelf, and then being able to slide all the way down to your legs to reach the double stuffed Oreos you tucked away in the bottom of the pantry. You know, the places you've hidden all the unhealthy food that you're trying to stay away from, but haha! My nubbly arms have beaten this foolproof healthy eating plan. Can you guys tell I'm trying to get healthy? It's clearly not working. While we're examining Kirby's behavior in the
Yeah,
water,
he did
there are
succeed.
2 other things to note here. 1, he keeps the same shape even when inhaling, and 2, even though he can float by inhaling a bunch of air on the land, he actually sinks underwater. Now, you might be asking yourself at this
Big question for you, Matt Pat. How can he fly then? How does little bro fly? Can amoebas just fly? Or have 1,000 jumps or something? Explain to me,
point,
homie.
hey Matt Pat, all of these things seem really pointless. How does all of this prove that Kirby is an amoeba? Well, once I start explaining to you the defining characteristics of an amoeba, it's all gonna start making a lot of sense. As I slid past you earlier in the thesis statement of this video, amoebas are single-celled organisms, meaning they're made up of one cell as opposed to us who are made up of billions of different cells. They're also
Ooh.
eukaryotic, which means they have a nucleus that tells the cell what to be, what to do, and how to do it. It's like the brain of the cell. Additionally, the life of an amoeba pretty much consists of moving around in a constant search for something to eat. Starting to make a few connections? Well, how about we piece this thing together? Kirby's water balloon-like
way,
body
if you
told us
guys
that he had to be
want me to
filled with
react
some
to
sort of
more game
liquid,
theory,
allowing him to
I
maintain
will.
structure while still causing the deformations of his body that we saw when running and falling. Conveniently enough, amoebas are filled with a fluid called cytoplasm, which allows them to maintain some level of structure while still giving them enough elasticity to change their shape. Amoebas move around and grab things using stretchy appendages called pseudopods, Greek for false foot, that can form anywhere on their bodies. Basically, a lot of cytoplasm moves to a certain part of the cell, pushes out against the cell's membrane, and boom, new appendage filled with fluid made from just a bunch of stretched out outer casing, much like Kirby's little nubblies.
Yeah,
If Kirby were indeed a form of amoeba, it would explain how he's able to form arms above, behind, or even in his face and still move his body without the use of a skeletal or muscular system. It would also explain his ability to selectively grab things that he wants from the environment around him. The science is a bit too complicated to get into right now, but basically amoeba have selectively permeable membranes, so certain things can pass through the cell and other things just can't. So likewise, Kirby could selectively choose to grab things with his nubblies or just let them be neutral and stay outside his membrane at all times. But don't worry, if having an arm coming out of your face wasn't exciting enough, there's even more benefits to the wonderful world of forming false feet all over your body. In multiple Kirby games, including Kirby Superstar, Return to Dreamland, and Kirby Triple Deluxe, Kirby has himself a guard ability. If you look at Kirby during this guard, he's just throwing up his arm.
How is that a guard? You chop your hand off.
And assumes a defensive stance. But how can he guard like this if he's just a big squishy water balloon ball? Well, the amoeba theory has an answer for that too. When placed in extreme situations, amoebas are able to form cysts, basically like a thick layer of skin that hardens in order to protect themselves. Since he isn't shown using a shield or some other form of protection, just his little old nubbly, this has to be the only logical explanation for this ability. Otherwise, he'd just be getting his soft little nubblies cut off. And nobody, and I mean nobody, wants to lose themselves a nubbly. Still not convinced? Well, the amoeba theory accounts for yet another oft-overlooked Kirby skill, division. In most Kirby games, but notably Kirby Mass Attack, he's shown being split into pieces with each piece still able to function. Not as a hive mind, but rather as separate individuals. Each Kirby is able to operate on its own and without the use of something giving it orders. So how would this work if he were indeed an amoeba? Well, as an amoeba, he only has one nucleus, which means that this would only work if a fragment of that nucleus happened to be in a part that got itself cut off. But what are the odds of that? Have I written myself into a corner? Have I disproven my own theory? Have I written too many rhetorical questions? No. Of course not. I'm adding all this in for dramatic effect. Are you sufficiently dramatized? Have I delayed this long enough? Was this a terrible meta moment for me to put in the first place? Yes, 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 and yes. Here's the big reveal. Generally, amoebas are microscopic, but there are some that are shockingly large. A xenophyophore is a deep water amoeba that can grow up to 20 centimeters. That is 8 inches in diameter. Stop and think about that.
Okay, that is the answer. Guess what? I know Kirby. Kirby is 8 inches. Amoeba, 8 inches. Kirby, 8 inches.
Is the length of a fork for one
And the
cell.
length of a Kirby.
One cell. That is enormous. If you were to fill that one cell using a typical human cell, it would take 100 billion cells. And if you're thinking that's impossible for one cell with one nucleus to be that massive, well, you wouldn't be completely wrong. Where the typical eukaryotic cell has one nucleus that does one job, this bad boy has thousands, which would completely negate any need for precision when it comes to Kirby's multiplication, or should I say, Kirby's cellular division. Kirby can get cut into as many pieces as he has nuclei for, and he'd still be able to regenerate without breaking a sweat. But here's the kicker, the biggest twist of them all. Remember how I said that these things grow up to be about 8 inches in diameter? Well, according to Nintendo of Japan and Super Smash Bros., Kirby's official canon size, 8 inches. Mic drop. So yeah, if you're not convinced at this point, you're just being stubborn. Everything from his physical attributes, the way he moves, the way he holds things, the way he defends, he hangs on to things, even how he can divide and still function can all be explained by him being a pink 8-inch sentient amoeba. But, you know, there's still one ability Kirby has that you might be waiting to throw back at me. One thing I've tried to avoid this entire script. One piece of evidence that I have yet to reveal that will not only prove with absolute certainty that he is in fact an amoeba, but also answers one of the biggest mysteries surrounding Kirby. Nay, video games in their entirety. Yes. I'm talking about Kirby's copy ability. Since the second installation of the Kirby series, he's had this inexplicable ability to ingest living opponents and copy their powers. Well, there have been a bunch of speculation as to how this all works. I'm about to hit you with the answer. Kirby's special ability to copy is just an amoeba's special ability to perform endosymbiosis. If you break the name apart, endo means inside, and symbiosis is a really close interaction between
Endo is something in Five Nights at Freddy.
two things. Put that together and wham! An interaction between two things that's formed on the inside. In the theory of evolution, it's proposed that one of the ways simple prokaryotic cells, or cells without a nucleus, turned into the more advanced eukaryotic cells is by doing just that. Endosymbiosis. Cells ingested one another and just started sharing abilities because it was evolutionarily beneficial. A great example of this can actually be found in our own cells right now. The little organelle inside your cell responsible for what is essentially energy production is called mitochondria. Mitochondria actually has its own DNA separate from the DNA of the rest of the cell. This lends to the theory that the mitochondria was, at one point in history, its own organism, and that a simple cell had ingested it. That cell gained the mitochondria's energy production ability by literally sucking it in and eating the mitochondria. Other traces of endosymbiosis can be found in a plant cell's ability to use oxygen to create energy. Oh, what's that? A new oxygen-rich atmosphere? Well, let me just eat a cell that can metabolize oxygen. A fuse that needs lighting? Glad this flamer enemy was around so I could suck it in, ingest it, and grab its flame breath. In the simplest terms, endosymbiosis is essentially an amoeba eating another living cell, obtaining whatever that cell had, and through a very complicated process involving the reading and writing of genetic codes, filtering out what it does and doesn't need, all in the name of survival. And when you stop and think about it, this is exactly what Kirby's copy ability does as well. He ingests the enemy, a living enemy, mind you, and only takes what'll help him survive. Kirby doesn't eat a Waddle Doo and suddenly gain its giant eyeball because he already has eyes, and having two eyes is actually an evolutionary advantage. Instead, he gains the Waddle Doo's beam ability, something that will actually help him to survive. And when he's done with the ability, poof, DNA exits his body in the form of a star. Kirby the Star Warrior? More like Kirby the Cell Warrior. But hey, it's getting close to the holidays. So before this episode ends and you run off to your holiday parties waving your spiral sliced ham over your head, why not pay less for that spiral sliced ham? And Christmas, and I still have nothing? How did this happen? I may or may not be speaking from personal experience. Anyway, while you're shopping for those gifts, use Honey. It's the sponsor for today's episode. Honey is a free browser extension you can download using the link in the description that literally scours the entire internet for all the promo you never have to pay for. Save it. It is living coupon off but in all I need to. I'm gonna go do that.
Alright, that's the video. It was fun. It was awesome. I give this episode a 10 out of 10. This dude is smart. I'm gonna watch more of this. Anyways, I gotta head out. Bye, guys.